My wife suggested an open marriage. I said, no need. Our marriage is already over. She never saw what was coming next. Hello Reddit I+ here. My name is Daniel Moreno. I'm 32 years old, and until recently, I thought I had a stable marriage with my 29-year-old wife, Elise. We'd been together for 6 years, married for 3. From the outside, people thought we had it all. Steady jobs, a nice apartment downtown, family who adored us. We weren't flashy, but we had built something that felt solid, or at least, I thought it was solid. The cracks didn't show all at once. They started small, almost invisible, like hairline fractures in glass. Elise began coming home later and later from work, saying she had to stay late for projects. At first, I believed her. She worked in marketing, and those campaigns could be brutal. But then came the late-night texts, the sudden need to guard her phone, the way she'd step out onto the balcony for a quick call. I wanted to believe she was just stressed. I didn't want to be that husband who accuses his wife without proof. But 2 weeks ago, something happened that shattered my denial. Her phone buzzed while she was in the shower. The name flashing on the screen was one I recognized. Maya, a woman I'd met at one of Elise's company dinners. Curious, and maybe a little irritated, I answered, intending to say Elise was busy. But the voice on the other end wasn't a woman's. It was a man's. He sounded comfortable too, like someone who had been talking to Elise regularly. He asked if she was free for lunch, and when I spoke, there was a stunned silence before he hung up. I sat there, phone in hand, my chest pounding. When Elise came out of the shower, I confronted her. She barely blinked, claimed she must have saved the number wrong, said it was just another coworker coordinating a client meeting. She delivered the excuse so calmly, so naturally, that for a split second, I wondered if I had overreacted. But that phone call kept replaying in my head. The voice hadn't sounded like someone setting up a business lunch. It had sounded like a man eager to see her. I tried to talk to her about it again over the next few days. Every time, she brushed me off. You're overthinking. You're stressing yourself out. Her dismissal only made me more suspicious. I even tried to check her phone one night while she was asleep, but she'd set a new password. That was when I knew she was hiding something. I felt like I was losing my grip on reality. Then, a few nights ago, Elise sat me down at our kitchen table. She looked serious, almost nervous, and I thought finally, she's going to come clean. But instead of admitting anything, she launched into a speech about how she felt trapped. She said our marriage had lost its spark, that she'd rushed into it too young, that maybe we both needed room to grow. Then she dropped the real bomb. She wanted us to try an open marriage. She said it like she was offering a solution, like this would save us. I just stared at her, numb, until the numbness burned away into something sharper. I told her she didn't need an open marriage. She was free to leave right now. Her face went pale. I told her I knew about her coworker. I told her I might not have proof, but I wasn't stupid. She exploded, yelling, swearing that she'd never cheated, insisting I was paranoid. But every denial sounded like a lie. I told her it didn't even matter anymore, because if she was seriously asking for an open marriage, then she'd already checked out. That was the final line for me. The fight spiraled into name-calling, both of us throwing years of resentment at each other like knives. Eventually, Elise stormed into the bedroom, stuffed clothes into a bag, and walked out the door. I didn't stop her. That was 3 days ago. The apartment has been silent since. At first, the silence felt like a relief. Then it started feeling like a punishment. I keep asking myself, did I overreact? Did I kill a marriage that could have been saved? But deep down, I know the truth. Elise didn't ask for an open marriage because she wanted to explore. She asked because she'd already been exploring behind my back. Last night, I packed the rest of her things into boxes. I couldn't stand seeing her hairbrush on the counter, her jacket draped over the chair, the little reminders of a life we once shared. I stacked the boxes by the door. Today, I called my parents and told them everything. My father, who used to work in a law firm, promised to connect me with a good attorney. We'll be filing for divorce soon. It's not the future I imagined when I married Elise. I thought we'd be planning kids by now, saving for a house, building a family. Instead, I'm learning how fast trust can be shattered and how heavy silence feels when the person you built your life with walks away. But one thing I know for certain, I didn't screw up by drawing a line. I screwed up by ignoring the cracks for so long. A week after Elise walked out, the attorney my father recommended called me into his office. He was a sharp man in his 50s named Robert Kramer, the kind who had seen every shade of betrayal play out in court. "Daniel," he said, adjusting his glasses as he scanned through my notes, "your case is straightforward. No kids, no house in both names, and clear signs she's acting in bad faith. The court won't care about suspicions of cheating unless we can prove it. But the fact she left and is pushing for an open marriage speaks volumes. We'll push for a clean split. I felt a strange relief, like I had a battle plan. But Elise didn't stay gone for long. 3 days later, she showed up at my apartment, unannounced. She knocked softly at first, then harder, until I opened the door. She was dressed neatly, her hair done like she was coming straight from work, but her eyes were tired. "Daniel, can we talk?" she asked, her voice cracking just enough to sound vulnerable. I stepped aside, letting her in, though my stomach twisted. She looked around at the boxes I'd packed with her belongings. Her face tightened. "So that's it? You've already erased me from this place?" I stayed quiet, watching her pace the living room. "Daniel," she said finally, "I know things got heated. I know I scared you when I mentioned an open marriage, but you misunderstood me. I wasn't saying I wanted to run around with other men. I was saying we should expand our relationship, explore together. I don't want a divorce." Her words sounded rehearsed. I shook my head. "Elise, you don't ask for an open marriage if you're happy. You don't guard your phone if you're being faithful. You don't walk out and pack a bag if you want to work things out." She flinched, then quickly masked it. "So you've convinced yourself I'm cheating? Based on what? A phone call? A number saved wrong? You're letting paranoia destroy us." The gaslighting was almost impressive. Almost. I leaned back against the wall, arms crossed. "No, Elise, you destroyed us." I just finally stopped pretending not to notice. Her expression shifted, anger flashing, then softening into something more calculated. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. "Daniel, think about what you're doing. Divorce isn't easy. It's expensive, ugly. Do you really want to throw away 6 years over a misunderstanding? We could go to counseling. We could reset." There it was, the manipulation. Painting herself as the victim, dangling reconciliation like bait. I swallowed the lump in my throat, because a part of me, the part that still remembered the woman I'd fallen in love with, wanted to believe her. But then I remembered Robert's words. "She's acting in bad faith." "Elise," I said carefully, "I've already spoken to an attorney. The papers are being filed." Her face drained of color. For a moment she looked like a mask had cracked, revealing something raw underneath. Then she snapped, "So that's it? You're just going to listen to your parents? To some lawyer instead of me? After everything we've been through?" Her voice rose until she was nearly shouting. "You're pathetic, Daniel. Weak. No wonder I felt suffocated in this marriage. You can't even fight for your own wife." The words stung, but I didn't let her see it. I simply walked to the door, opened it, and said, "Take your things, Elise. Next time we talk, it'll be through lawyers." She stood frozen, fists clenched, tears welling in her eyes, but this time, they weren't enough to move me. Eventually, she gathered her boxes, muttering curses under her breath, and left. As the door closed behind her, I realized something. She wasn't sad about losing me. She was furious about losing control, and in that moment, I finally felt free. The following weeks were a blur of paperwork, late-night emails with Robert, and restless sleep. Every time I thought about Elise's face at the door, furious one second, pitiful the next, I reminded myself that she wasn't fighting for me. She was fighting for control. Robert warned me right away. "She's going to push back. People like Elise don't let go quietly. Be ready for guilt trips, maybe even lies. Stay calm, keep everything documented, and let me handle the rest." He was right. 2 days later, I got the first wave of manipulation. Elise sent me a long email, 3 full paragraphs about how she'd been confused, how work stress and pressure from friends had made her think about open marriage. She wrote that she'd been testing me to see if I still loved her enough to fight for her. It ended with, "We're soulmates, Daniel. Don't throw us away over a misunderstanding." I didn't reply. The next attempt came through my mother. Elise called her directly. My mom phoned me that evening, sounding torn. "She says she loves you, Danny. She says she made a mistake, that she wants to fix things. Are you sure this is the right path?" Hearing that nearly broke me. But I told my mom the truth. "She doesn't want me, Mom. She wants to keep me while she sneaks around. I can't live like that." My father backed me up immediately. "He's right. Don't let her drag you back in. She's already shown her hand." When Elise realized the guilt route wasn't working, she changed tactics. She became aggressive. One evening, I got a message from her. "If you divorce me, I'll make sure everyone knows how paranoid and controlling you are. You'll look like the villain, not me." That was the first time I felt true anger, not just sadness. She was rewriting the story, painting me as the problem. But Robert told me to expect this. "Keep everything," he said. "Texts, emails, voicemails. Don't engage with her threats. The more she talks, the more she digs her own grave." And she did. By the time the preliminary hearing rolled around, Elise had turned into a completely different person in public. In court, she dressed conservatively, spoke softly, even cried while describing how she'd been blindsided by my sudden decision to divorce. She told the judge that she had suggested counseling, but that I had overreacted. It was surreal, sitting there listening to her lie through her teeth. Robert leaned toward me and whispered, "Don't flinch. Let her bury herself." When it was our turn, he presented Elise's emails and texts, her proposal for an open marriage, her threats, her guilt-tripping. The judge read them carefully, then looked back at Elise. "Mrs. Moreno," he said, "these messages don't exactly paint the picture you've just described." Her face turned scarlet. By the end of the hearing, it was clear the judge wasn't buying her act. With no kids, no shared property beyond furniture, and no substantial claims, the court leaned toward a clean, straightforward divorce. That night, Elise called me one last time. I shouldn't have answered, but curiosity got the better of me. Her voice was calm, eerily calm. "You're really going through with this, aren't you?" "Yes," I said. A long silence stretched on. Then she laughed, low, bitter. "You'll regret it, Daniel. One day you'll wake up alone and realize you threw away the only woman who ever loved you." I hung up. And for the first time in months, I slept through the night. The court made its decision faster than I expected. By the time the paperwork was filed, all that remained was the mandatory waiting period before the divorce became official. I thought Elise would fade out of my life quietly after her courtroom performance failed. But people like her don't disappear easily. About a week later, I started getting unexpected calls from friends. Some from college, others from my job. They all asked me versions of the same question. "Hey man, did you really throw Elise out for no reason? Or worse, she's saying you were emotionally abusive. Is that true?" My stomach sank. Elise had started her final stunt, reputation warfare. She went on social media with a carefully crafted post about healing after emotional trauma, painting herself as the wounded wife of a cold, controlling husband. She never mentioned my name, but the timing and details made it obvious who she was talking about. At first, I wanted to fight back, post my side, share screenshots, expose the truth, but Robert stopped me. "Daniel, don't touch it. Every response gives her more ammunition. Let her play victim online. Judges don't make rulings off Facebook posts." So I kept silent. It was harder than I thought, watching her spin lies while some people actually believed her. But silence turned out to be my greatest weapon. Her story started unraveling when she overplayed her hand, claiming I'd isolated her financially when anyone who knew us knew she made more money than I did. Slowly, her sympathy crowd dried up. People stopped engaging with her vague posts. Some even reached out to me quietly, saying they were starting to see through it. But Elise wasn't done. One Friday evening, just 3 weeks before the divorce would be finalized, she showed up at my apartment again. This time, she was crying harder than I'd ever seen her. She collapsed onto the couch, sobbing. "Daniel, please, please don't do this. I made mistakes, but I still love you. We can fix this. I'll quit my job, cut off all my friends, anything you want. Just don't leave me, for a moment." My chest tightened. This was the woman I had once planned a future with, the woman I thought I'd grow old beside. The urge to comfort her tugged at me. But then I remembered the phone call, the lies, the courtroom act, the smear campaign. "No, Elise," I said quietly. "You don't love me. You love control. And you're terrified of losing it." Her sobs turned into rage in an instant. She shot up from the couch, eyes blazing. "You think you'll be happier without me? You'll be alone, Daniel. Alone and miserable. And when that day comes, don't you dare come crawling back to me." She stormed out, slamming the door so hard the frame shook. That was the last time I saw her in person. 3 weeks later, the judge signed the final decree. Just like that, I was free. I thought I'd feel relief, and I did. But what surprised me most was the grief. Not for Elise herself, but for the years I'd invested, the future that would never be. But grief gave way to something else. Clarity. I started focusing on myself. I picked up running again, something I'd dropped during the chaos of marriage. I reconnected with friends I hadn't seen in years. I even started painting, a hobby I hadn't touched since college. Slowly, my apartment stopped feeling like a battleground and started feeling like my own space again. One evening, while jogging through the park at sunset, I realized something simple but powerful. Elise was right about one thing. I was young, and I still had time to rebuild, to rediscover who I was, without her shadow hanging over me. For the first time in a long time, the future didn't feel heavy. It felt wide open.